Ron Klopfanstein, and you're in the hot seat on the Media Monday. Hi everybody, welcome to the hot seat on this Media Monday. I'm Ron Klopfanstein, and my guest today is Danielle Martin. She's the Executive Director of Connected Community Schools in Rome. I think it's nice, one of the themes of this show, it seems they have kind of emerged in the past few weeks, is kind of like supporting our listeners, our friends in Rome. We've had the United Way on a few times, we talked about 2-in-1, and I know that you're based in Rome and you're doing a lot of things in Rome, so why don't you tell us what is Connected Community Schools?
Fabulous. Thank you, Ron, for having me today. Danielle Martin, co-leader of Connected Community Schools Initiative. So Connected Community Schools is an initiative. It's a collaborative that focuses on partnering with our public school districts to create community schools. So it's a national philosophy and a national movement across the country. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yes, physically or figuratively housing resources within our schools. So students, families, faculty, and staff can be successful in their education, but we also want students to have all the resources that they need to be successful in their everyday life, but as they become future leaders in our community. So Connected Community Schools really over the last 7 years now has really branded ourselves here in central New York. So we are housed in Rome, that's our central operation, and it has kind of over the last few months has really become more than just serving our schools, but serving the community as well. I think, Ron, when I was going to say, when you first reached out, we were knee deep in serving the community in a much different way. But we've done that in different ways over the last few years in partnering with our schools when there's been crises, unfortunate events, that our team has come together to support our schools.
So what are some of the things you've been doing like in the past few weeks, specifically like in response to the tornado? The day that I stopped by to see you, you guys were so busy, had so much going on, and you were about to head out to an event to give stuff out to help people. What are some of those things you've been doing?
So very quickly, just naturally, unfortunately, there was a handful of our team that were impacted during the tornado on that day, on July 16th. So, but just when I reflect back on that day and the moments that we also were impacted by that, I'll say it. It was a traumatic event for many of us, but being just natural helpers and having the passion that we do, working in the human service field, we just looked around and very quickly it was, how are we going to help? What are we going to do to help our community? Because we knew in the next coming days, weeks, that things were not going to go back to normal, right? So we quickly decided the next day that our initiative is focused on supporting individuals' basic needs, because that's where we need to start. Before we get them connected to formal resources in our community, we need to make sure that they have food, that they have shelter, they have clothes, they have those basic necessities to kind of take the next step. So we decided that we were just going to start to feed people, right? So we posted, everybody goes back to my saying during those weeks of this kind of family cookout. So we served 3 meals a day, and we went very strong from the support from the community.
Wait, in Rome, you served 3 meals a day.
So our main operation is housed in our Connected Impact Center, which is at 207 North James Street, what people formerly know as the old City Hall.
The beautiful building, it's been restored and it looks so nice inside now. So now, what are some of the things that like you normally do, like outside the tornado? So like when you provide supplies, like I'm thinking like would this be like food and toiletry pantry in the schools and maybe supplies for the teachers? Or?
Absolutely. So when we first started our initiative, one of the needs that we saw in the Rome Community School project was food insecurity, right? So we started off focusing on creating a food pantry. And from there, we quickly learned it wasn't just food that people needed. Your students needed hygiene products. Your students needed school supplies. And it's not all of these supplies that we provide in our schools. It's not so much always those kids that don't have the means to access that. It could be from somebody who they can't get it, or they forgot it. No questions asked. We really want to create a place where students and families that barrier is broken down, where they feel comfortable asking for help regardless of whatever the reason is. So for community schools, we create physical spaces in our schools, what we call hubs. So in partnership with the schools, they've really become pinnacle safe spaces where we have a tangible component. So you have food, school supplies, hygiene products, snacks, donations from the larger community. So And that can be anything from prom dresses we've gotten.
Oh, like clothing too.
Yes,
Nice.
yes. So we partner with Food Bank of Central New York,
Yeah.
and I will do a shout out to them.
That's great. Yeah, please do.
The being Hunger Awareness Month for them,
Yeah.
and they deliver about 10,000 pounds of food to our office in Rome every week,
Right.
and that's the central distribution site that goes out to all of our connected districts.
So every week at your central hub,
Yeah.
you get a big delivery of food, and then at your organization, do you like divide it up and like allocate it to the?
We do. We absolutely do. So, and there's
It must be a lot of work, all the transportation you got to do.
Yes, and we have a fantastic central hub team, but also our delivery driver as well, Joey. He really just adds the ray of sunshine that's needed in all those movements. But so our schools, I'll go to our schools. We currently partner with 13 public school districts.
Okay.
So
What ones are they?
over 50. So I'll start,
Because I thought it was just Rome, so
It's
I'm
not.
surprised. I'm impressed.
It started in Rome. This project, at the national level, we still continue to get recognized as the Rome Community School project.
Because I remember seeing it on James Street, right? Because I think about the time you opened is about the time I went back to school to get the second master's in English to teach.
Okay.
And so I kept seeing that, and I was thinking, oh, I gotta stop in and see what they're all about. So finally, 8 years later, 7 years later, here I am. So what schools are you involved in?
So we currently are in the Rome City School District,
Nice.
Camden Central, Waterville Central, Holland Patton, Adirondack, New Hartford, Madison, Canastota, Dodgeville, Central Valley, Mount Markham, Herkimer, and our newest is Sherburne Earlville.
Wow, so you go far out. I had no idea.
Yes.
So when you talk about delivering the food to all those places, that's quite a job.
It is. Minimally on a bi-weekly basis, our delivery infrastructure delivers to all of our schools. And it's that, so I mentioned the food, but all of those resources that come into our central hub, donations from the community again.
Like toothpaste and deodorant and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, in the schools, when you say you have a physical space, do you like have a room that people can drop in to get the kids can drop in?
We
to get
do.
what they
So
need?
that's our hub. So there's two pieces to our physical space that we have in the school. So we have minimally one dedicated staff that's there to really support the students in that space, but also to manage the oversight of those tangible resources and ensuring they're getting into the
Like someone to maybe talk to them and stuff.
Yeah. They become just another one trusted adult. I think
that's so important.
it absolutely is. It's whenever
someone to have their back.
Absolutely. And we have fantastic educators, and I will say that as I'm
thank
speaking
you.
to you as an educator. But you have a lot on your plate, and I'm sure there's a handful of students that look up to you. They go to the nurse's office, they go to their counselor, their gym teacher, their art teacher, whoever they feel connected to.
They gotta have someone that they can count on. That they feel comfortable to talk to return to things will help and stuff.
Absolutely.
So they go into these spaces and there's food and there's what kind of food do they get?
So we have basic food that comes from that would be in a regular food pantry. Like ensuring that there's protein, there's grains, there's cereal, there's we do peanut butter, pasta sauce. So it's through Food Bank of Central New York that comes in. So it's not just we have resources for students during the day, but we also have families that are in need of additional items. So we do provide them with that tangible needs that maybe get them through those long weekends, those long holidays.
Yeah, the holiday weekends can be hard for kids if they don't have food at home because there's no cafeteria and breakfast and stuff. So you also do so how does a school how did you start out to when you go into a school? How do you approach a school? How do you kind of develop the infrastructure to?
So how did we get where we are today? It started as Rome Community Schools, and then again recognized at the national level by American Federation of Teachers, which is the teachers union.
Right. Yeah.
They acknowledged the amazing work that was happening at the Rome City School District and wanted us to take that and continue to serve rural school districts and partner with those communities.
That's so exciting. So you started this, you guys started this here, and you guys this recognition.
Absolutely.
So it's spreading. Wow.
Yes. And how is it spread? Back to your question, is really from the testimonies. And you have teachers, you have social workers, you have counselors, you have community members that are like, how do we become a connected district?
Right.
So it really just happens like that. A seed is planted, people reach out to our team. Myself and Melissa Royce, who's the co-leader, as my other co.
Yeah.
We typically sit down with the school administration and we talk about what Connected Community Schools is, what their needs are as a school district and as a community, and then we start to do that needs and implementation. And we partner with our local BOCES to support our schools.
Oh, nice.
To really ensure that they have the means to implement the community schools.
Right, because you'd have to have the space for one thing, and then, so now for most of this, like, do the schools help with the funding for this too?
So that's where BOCES comes in. So one of our successes over the last few years was partnering with BOCES to create what they call a CLOSER, which is a shared service opportunity for school districts to be able to drive state aid.
Oh,
so
I
it's
see.
reimbursed.
Yes. Oh, good.
And every school is different in how that works for their funding. So.
Right. And so, like, the food comes from the, where does the food come from again?
So Food Bank of CNY of Central New York provides the traditional food, and then we get donations from
I was going to ask about that.
the community. So you have
Yeah.
snacks, you have anything when it comes to food items that are donated that then go out to our school hubs.
So if somebody wanted to donate food, like how could they drop food off with you?
So we have a couple ways they can reach out. On our website, so connectedcommunityschools.org, there's ways to where you can contact us directly or via email, phone, and then you can make a tangible item donation or you can do a monetary donation. I've learned in my role specifically with this Community Schools Initiative, people love to be part and they like to see the tangible items become in the hands of our students and our families that are in need of it. So we've really just created the infrastructure, and I'll go back to July when we did the disaster relief response.
Is that when the tornado hit in July? It seems like a long time ago, but it seems like yesterday too.
I said that before I came here. I was like, I really don't know. July 16th feels like forever.
I mean, it seems like so early, but it was kind of early in the year. It sounds good. So
it was so. But it's just so humbling to look back at the amount of support that came in from the community. Not only the food component, the restaurants that showed up, the community members. We had pastas, and originally it was just, we pulled out planning to cook breakfast, right? We had some eggs left in the food pantry and some pancakes we were going to do. And then next thing you know, we're having this full course meal with things just showing up. I remember pasta, chicken tenders, you name it, from all over
it was
the
such a
world.
nice spirit. After a disaster, you see everybody come out and come together and out on the, in the streets and come and help each other and eat together. And it was really nice to see it there, So were you guys actually physically hit by the tornado? Your building? You were kind of in the neighborhoods.
We were, and actually, I say we were fortunate, but we're still experiencing it. Compared to our neighboring buildings and businesses, we didn't have as much damage. When you walk out and you look around, just some of the damage a block away from us with buildings that no longer stand. Our attic was hit, so there's some construction going on up there where all of our windows have blown out to Veterans Park and across the street.
Were you there when it happened?
I was.
What was that like that day?
So it was hard. There was about 12 of us in the building.
Yep.
And it was, you think of something like a tornado, it's not going to hit us here, right?
That's exactly what I thought.
So we happened to be in one of our spaces on the first floor, and we got a look from Melissa, and she's like, it's here. So we all kind of congregated to the center location and ended up in a closet. If you aren't familiar with our building, there's a lot of windows.
I was going to say, there's a lot of windows.
It's a very old building.
Because it's a public building. It was a city hall.
And it's a brick building, and I'm thankful that it was a brick building.
Right. Durable.
But those windows that are glass look like plexiglass, the way they're made. And you just looking out the windows, it was just fog, just spinning, right? You could see in the trees.
Could you hear it going on while you were in there?
It was almost like, and as we reflected back, Melissa says it best, almost like a whistling. So that's a sound that...
of the wind, right?
Yes.
Must be the friction on the brick. I don't know what it is, but
It it was odd.
How long did it last?
It's funny that you asked that. I don't know.
It's
I
so
don't know
strange
that
because
anyone's
it's so
asked me
strange that
that,
like this happens so close home. Because like I live in Westmoreland,
Okay.
so my husband and I, we were at New Hartford Shopping Center when it actually hit.
Yeah,
So we weren't
yeah.
even home, but we were kind of like Rome-ish Westmoreland. So, but we were fine, you know.
Right.
But like there was some, you know, sticks and branches and stuff. But New Hartford Shopping Center, I've never seen like water like that. It was coming down at the parking lot. Like a waterfall coming
Yeah.
right up onto the sidewalk, and like it looked like it was going into the stores, and I was like, "Wow, this is the real thing." Because I saw a tornado warning on my phone, and I thought, "Oh, that never was going to happen there." We all thought that.
We got the warning on our phone like the week prior, right? And
Yeah.
nothing happened. So
Right,
again,
yeah.
so we did. Some people got the notice, some people didn't. So I happened to be in the building. I was working remote that day. I came in to plan for a staff meeting.
Oh.
So I happened to bring my daughter with me. So with her being young, I still praise our team for this. That everybody was so calm because I think
That's nice,
otherwise,
yeah.
like how chaotic that moment is and the thoughts that go through our mind. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
support from our team amongst each other, the day of, but then ongoing. I mean, when you talk about serving the community, yes, we served food for, it was just over 2 weeks that we served 3 meals a day.
That's a lot.
In addition to just supporting the community, whatever needs were identified throughout that process and connecting to additional resources. But we've continued to serve. I mean, we
Yeah.
have people that are still lacking housing from this.
I've heard, yeah, the United Way was here, like, I think it was last week, talking about that, how much need there still is, and the damage that's done and stuff. So, how did you know when it was safe to come out? Did the whistle die
It
down?
just stopped, like,
Yeah.
because you
Is
had
it- is
talked
that
about
what
the
it's like? It
torrential
just
rain.
stops?
It just stopped, right?
Yeah.
Like you could finally
Just like a
see.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just we walked out. Obviously, Veterans Park is there. Some of the trees were down. Unfortunately, Veterans Park they removed trees as early as or as late as this last week from that.
Yeah, I heard it's taking a long time to get the trees out. Yeah. Wow, it's so interesting because I've never experienced one, and I've actually slept through every earthquake that we've ever had here. So like I've missed all those too, and I've lived here my entire life. But wow, it's just like kind of amazing. But it really is nice the way the communities come together, and I think that's something that's going to stick with people. And in a way, it almost like I think kind of brought people back a little bit further back after COVID in terms of reconnecting and like what community really is. You know, so like. There's always a silver lining to stuff, you know. And definitely, you guys are one of those things, and so is United Way. And all the people we've had a few groups on here, and you know, we have our groups are Bromar Community Centers, and I'm going to be in next week, and they're going to talk about their plays and stuff. Kept happening all summer, and people kept coming together and feeding each other and taking care of each other, and it's really great. So
I love the theme that you just said, reconnecting, because not only did we reconnect, but we connected with people in our community that I hadn't previously known.
right, like you and I.
Like I'm like, you are neighbors,
Yeah.
and you serve the community in a similar way.
Yeah.
So we gained a lot of new friends through
That's
it.
beautiful.
And the momentum has just continued. So we have, being the work that we do with the
I'm going to ask you all about
Sure.
that. And I'm going to ask you all about the history too, because I think it's so cool that like this was a local thing. That got national recognition and is growing. And I'd love to see groups grow, like good people. So like we'll talk more about that after the break. You're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. My guest today is Danielle Martin from Connected Community Schools. I'll have more after this break. I'm Klopfanstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the hot seat on this Media Monday. My guest today is Danielle Martin from Connected Community Schools. And before the break, we're talking a little bit about how one of the silver lining, kind of the one of the positive side, if there is one, of the tornado is the way that it kind of brought the community back together. So many people, maybe who had never talked before, or never like interacted, reached out to offer help and to receive help, to take help, and to just come together to see what their neighbors needed and what the community needed. And I think it's like one of the sort of a nice theme of the summer of 2024. What do you say?
I would agree. I absolutely would. And whether we were reconnecting with people during that time or making new relationships, one of the things we do with our foundation, with Connected Community Schools, is doing our best to mine the community for resources. And from that could be a community member that wants to be involved, supporting our students and our families, to a organization that also wants to be part of. I mean, we have well over 400 partners in the communities that we serve.
Really?
From businesses to nonprofits to community members again. So that's how we do our work. It is a true collaborative.
Yeah.
We could not do the work or respond the way we do if we didn't have those relationships. Something I was saying before we went on the break was, or I started to say was, we've had these, we call them within our team traditions. So quickly after the tornado hit, we are planning back to school, right? Which back to school can be a huge stressor for students and families. The demand and our educators,
really
right?
Hard.
So the demands of school supplies, even for the kiddos that new school clothes, new sneakers, whatever those tangible resources are. So we quickly just led into partnering with community members and businesses to bring in school supplies so we could get them into the hands of our students and families. So what we've done, because these traditions have happened, we have our school supplies in the early fall. We then go into very quickly, and I know it's only September, but I'm going to say it.
Holiday, right? I was to say.
We very quickly go into
Even though it's
holiday
like 90 degrees here in the studio, it's going to be Christmas soon,
Yes, I know. It's coming.
You know, it's crazy how fast it goes by.
It does. So we've created, and this is something kind of when you say silver lining and connecting and reconnecting. Connect a Kid campaign is something that we've really took the time to finalize going into this year.
What is that?
So this is a way that we identify as an initiative opportunities for us to create platforms for the community to support the needs of our students, families, and the larger community. So we have, like I said, school supplies in our end of summer, early fall. Then we'll quickly go into holiday assistance, and then
what kind of assistance would that be? What would holiday assistance be? Yeah.
So what we've done over the last few years is created a platform for people to give. It very quickly. I can't say that we have a giving season. We do have, and I'll do a shout out quick. We do have the Mohawk Valley Gives, which is powered by the Community Foundation.
I was just going to ask you about that.
September 20th, this coming Friday. We actually are hosting a open house or a showcase at our building if you're interested. I know a lot of people are interested in coming.
Tell us the details. Yeah,
so
you got to see this place. This building is fantastic.
So it's just a meet and greet. Come in and meet our
team. You have
nice
art on the walls too. I was really impressed with it.
Yes.
I'm impressed with stuff like that. I look around the media stuff.
So it's just an open house. We haven't done a ribbon cutting really of the building yet. We're planning on doing that because our downstairs was just finally redone for more of an impact center model. So again, we have these places in our schools, but we also realize that we need to replace it for all of our centers. Yes. So, but this in our first floor would be an opportunity to engage with individuals that maybe don't go to school, or it's easier for them to get to that central location there in Rome. But Friday, anyways, is more of an open house, meet and greet, and we are celebrating that it is an annual 24-hour day of giving for nonprofits here in the Mohawk Valley.
Yes,
which we're participating in. We're very excited. So come and see us on Friday. We'd love to see all of you.
So what are the hours for your thing?
So for Friday, we're doing it from 1 to 8. We're going to have some snacks, and then
nice. So people can just drop.
Yep.
What is the actual address? Like if someone wants to type in the Google Map.
Sure. 207 North James Street.
207 North James Street. So 1 to 8 on Friday, people can see the place and meet you guys and find out what you're doing.
We house the whole building. So first floor is more the impact center. Second floor is our central hub, which kind of pulls in all those tangible resources that we had talked about. There's also artwork on the second floor, and I like to do shout outs for people.
Wow, that sounds great. You have some nice artwork on the bottom floor too, that I saw.
So the artwork through the entire building is designed by Melissa Royce, who's the co-leader.
Impressive.
Yes.
Impressive. Melissa Royce, you're very good. Wherever you are, you're very good. I'm impressed.
As being a co-leader with Melissa, she brings the creative vision color to it, and I'm more the structure process, how are we going to do this? So we really make this
must be a nice balance. It sounds like
it absolutely is. But the artwork has brought just that colorful, fun, welcoming feel to. Her artwork is out in our schools, in our hubs, but also in our building. So there is some artwork there. People are interested in. And then
It's a very nice place. I mean, when I got there, you were in the midst of this tornado had just hit.
Yes.
You guys were doing so much work, but you could tell that it was a place that it was a nice place, and it didn't feel like you were walking to like a soup kitchen or someplace. It was very welcoming. It was a nice place to be in the art area, but it was a really nice place to be. So I think that'd be nice for people to see that, come
And
see it.
that from the beginning of it being designed was that it was welcoming, and that it was that where you felt comfortable to come in, and there's no stigma with it, and it could be any business.
I used to work in human services for like in the 90s, and I know it's just so important to create a space where like the people that you're helping, that you treat them with respect and dignity, so that it's so that they are empowered by the help and not feel like they're basically or somehow diminished by receiving help. So, and I was impressed with the space. I think the space does a lot towards that too. So that was nice. So tell me about the history of this group, because it's so cool that like it started local and then it got national attention and spreading. And tell me all about it.
So Rome Community School started about 7 years ago, and then it was from there recognized at the national level.
So like who started it and why?
So a handful of teachers went to a national community schools conference, came back, and as educators said, we want to bring this here to our school in Rome.
So this is probably Rome when I first
Yes.
right?
Yes. So it started out as Rome Community Schools. Melissa Royce came in as the executive director of this nonprofit, and from there, very quickly, it grew to be serving district-wide. As we know, Rome is one of the, I'll say, probably
Pretty big, I
second
think.
largest district here in Oneida County.
He's probably behind me.
Yes. So from there, just gained the attention of the serving individuals and families, meeting their individual needs. So whether that is our tangible resources, like we talked about, or getting them connected with our social services, resources with Mohawk Valley Community Action, connecting with mental health services. That food insecurity, mental health, as we know, are the top two needs that we've seen as we've done this work. But along with housing falls shortly behind that, and kind of this homeless challenge that many of our individuals face, not just because of the tornado. This was a crisis prior to. So we really come in and try to support families to connect with the community resources. And I said before, Ron, our educators are great, even our school social workers, our counselors, but they already have so much on their plate.
True.
So
And the need is so great.
Yeah. So with creating community schools, we add more of a larger team.
Yeah.
So we can really take on that, navigating the community. What resources are families already connected to? Do they have a mentor? Do they have a care manager? Do they have a caseworker working in the Department of Family and Community Services? It's hard to keep track of all those moving parts and multi-systems.
And sometimes you can have a situation where a student would have all those services, but it doesn't result in their success because they just need a backpack. They need someone to recognize that and say, hey, you want a backpack? Here, take this one. Or breakfast or food or hungry.
And I think that's what...
A granola bar. One of my biggest tools as a teacher really is granola bars. Like, so many times, I think too, sometimes sometimes you can get a sense that drama is going to grow, and sometimes just give them a granola bar. Here, just have that. Just settle down, let me talk. It'll be fun. You need that.
Saying that as an educator yourself, how many educators have like a stash, right? In their desk drawer or in their backpack that they're carrying around to hand a student, right? Whether they forgot it, they don't have it, whatever the case may be, or to kind of mitigate, a challenge. So that's why we ensure that any school that we partner with, that the educators are aware that this is there just as much for them as it is for their students.
Yeah, we need it too sometimes.
Early on it was learned that teachers were spending about $30 a week to support their students.
I was gonna say they spend a lot on food and stuff.
Food. As the colder weather approaches us, I know we don't want to talk about it, but jackets. How many kids are showing up with no jackets, no boots, no boots? Right. So it's continuing that work. The other thing that you said that sparked was when a child or a family may have resources wrapped around them, but maybe there's additional resources that with the community schools infrastructure with those tangible goods, it really again just creates a larger team and pulling everybody together. So the family does feel supported, and it's getting community partners to realize
Yeah.
there's room for everybody to support students and families, and
There's
sometimes the
like
navigation
so much
is difficult.
need, true. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And sometimes just the navigation itself is getting them through. Is the issue. Like where to go for help, you know?
Right.
Because if you're 12, you don't know. I mean,
No.
even like within your school at times, you may not realize that there's a room next to your science room where you could get a granola bar if you
Right.
need, or a notebook if you need, a pencil or something.
Exactly. And the other challenge that we're up against in this field, it's forever changing.
Yeah.
There's new services coming in, there's new initiatives, there's new grants, there's new projects. So it's going to be evolving.
Yeah. So, like, how long have you been involved with this group?
So I started working with community schools shortly after the Rome Community School project was.
Okay.
So
like, what happened in the Rome Community Project? Like, what was it about it that people would realize this is something we need to invest in?
So we have 4 components in our community school model. One of them is family engagement. So really taking the lead and supporting the school on opening the school more, creating that bridge to bring our families into the building, and creating more of a partnership. Yes.
Right.
So that could be, we just had several back to school dashes, free haircuts for our kiddos.
Oh, I saw that on Facebook.
Some of our teachers even got free haircuts just to sit next to their students, which was great.
That's cool.
As we go into the fall, we have those trunk or treats that kind of flourished from the pandemic, and then some holiday fun community events.
The trunk or treats are a thing we should definitely keep, even though the pandemic is gone. Those are so great. You know?
Absolutely. We've had tremendous engagement with those.
Oh, great.
In all of our districts, there's some of these large events, but we've done Touch the Truck, so bringing in people from the community, and the kids love that.
Kids love those,
Spaghetti dinners, homework diners, I mean, you name it.
It's really important to get the families involved and to make things fun, isn't it? So.
And we've had a shift in family engagement, and this is a national challenge. So family engagement at our elementary level is great, but then as we move forward through middle school and high school, we tend to kind of expect, we want the students to gain that autonomy, but it still is important to have that partnership, right? So, and having those opportunities to build those relationships with our educators makes it a little bit easier when you have to sit and walk through a challenge that a student may have, right?
True,
and it is more shared. And they're more receptive.
Oh, it's much better. I feel like you reach out to parents and make the connection like long before there's even the slightest issue. Right. So they know that you're on their side, you're on the good side and stuff. So that is truly important. Yeah. So what are some of the things that tell us a little bit more about the open house we're gonna have on Friday, and then after the break we'll talk more about how this organization kind of grew and spread a few months before the break. So tell us a bit about about Friday. What's the big event on Friday?
So we decided to do an open house before this grand ribbon cutting that we're in the midst of identifying a date for, in to celebrate Mohawk.
You should invite me. Oh my gosh!
Fabulous.
Yes.
Come on, Ron. Friday at 1:00, 1 to 8. So it's more of just an open house. We have people that are eager to see inside the building. They saw it in July when people were coming in, and it was a little chaotic. They'll own that. So,
but in such a way, it was chaotic with a warmth. Good things happening. That's a good feeling.
And we want to keep that momentum up. So we just want to have an open house to celebrate the day. The annual, it's a 24-hour day of giving that Mohawk Valley gives, which is powered by Community Foundation and Up Mobility. So what Mohawk Valley gives, if you're not familiar, is an opportunity to donate to our local nonprofits here in the Mohawk Valley to continue to enhance and support the services and resources to our community. So.
And we're gonna have I have links to all the stuff on the show notes, and including links to your organization and links to I'll have information about the address, the time, the date, all that kind of stuff. So when we come back from the break, I'm gonna ask you about how this organization took off. It began in Rome, it was very successful, got national recognition. Now it's in several schools really throughout the area. My guest today is Danielle Martin from Community Connected Schools. You're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. I'll have more after the break. This is Ron Klopfanstein, and you're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. Hi everybody, welcome back to the hot seat on this Media Monday. My guest today is Danielle Martin from the Connected Community Schools. We're talking during the break. We're talking a bit about how if a student can have everything that they need to succeed in school, but if they go to school and they're hungry, or if they haven't eaten, or if they're concerned about where they're going to live or their clothes, it just everything stops dead, right?
Absolutely. We always use the analogy, right? If Johnny comes into the classroom and he has a toothache, what are you focused on? You're focused on that
Exactly.
toothache, right? Or you're focused on your
Just like
stomach
us,
grumbling
as
if you're
adults,
hungry,
right?
right? Yes.
Right.
So we really try to take that lift off of our educators and ensure that if a student is struggling in their classroom, they're able to connect that student or a family, right? We know that as much as we would like to say that things at home, stay at home, it doesn't work that way. We know as adults it doesn't work that way. So we want to provide that platform that if a student is struggling or a family is struggling, we've talked about families being, displaced. If they're being displaced, they need supports. We want to ensure that we can take that worry or struggle, whatever that is that the family is facing, and mitigate that they have the support that they need. Connecting them with housing resources and supporting them along the process. To get those resources can be time consuming and there can be wait lists, but how can we support them in the moment?
It can be hard even for like adults and people that work in the system to know where to turn to for help. So for someone who's in the system and getting help, I can imagine, especially if you're a kid.
Absolutely.
Where do you go? So
we make a lot of friends in the work we do, especially when it comes to certain programs needing certain eligibility or insurance requirements. So we do make a lot of friends, and we continue that upkeep of who's leading the referrals at, we'll say, Fidelis and Insurance, or who's leading the referrals, who's our point person at the neighborhood center, community health and behavioral services.
So like other organizations will like refer to you.
Absolutely, or the other way around. We do that through what we call LINK. It's a single point of access in our schools to connect individuals based on the struggle or worry that they're facing. So that can be our tangible resources, but also formal referrals. So if somebody's not connected with a primary care doctor, let's get them connected. Do they need a referral for mental health, or a mentor, or insurance, or whatever that struggle that they're being faced
So
with?
you can help families with all those kind of things.
Absolutely.
Is information referral. So there's a with your website you can press the button.
So in all of our schools, we identify a team within the school. So if you're a bus driver, or teacher, whomever, we have an identified link team. So that's typically your building administration, your school social
So like the
workers.
school employee can turn to a certain designated person on the staff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then that would come to our site coordinator or project manager to engage with the family and then work with them to mitigate those struggle or that challenge. We also have on our website if you go there, connectedcommunityschools.org, that is a button and you
And any person can press
brief,
it too.
yeah.
Right?
So we've had organizations use that, but we've also had family members. Maybe they've built a relationship with our site coordinator, and then they go on there and they'll submit it. So, and then we also have, obviously, I shared the districts we're connected with.
Yeah.
So if you're not a connected community school, we'll connect you with the resources in your school.
Yeah, because the schools all have stuff too. Like even if they don't have your organization, you can help them get to where they got it.
Absolutely. I'll use food as an example. There's food pantries in every community.
Right.
And again, it's just people not knowing how to navigate, or just aware that there's a food pantry and what the schedule is. So we strive to do that, whether you're in a connected community or not. We'll connect you with the resources that we can identify.
So even if it's not a district that you cover, you're still helping people get to where they
We'll connect them with them, yeah.
So now this organization, it was successful in Rome, and it now has expanded. So what was that process? How did that happen?
So we went from the Rome Community School project to, once that national recognition happened, because we were able to do that, connecting and
took so
linking.
well.
Yes. And then, so when we received that national recognition, it took a little bit of time of how are we going to do this, because it's no longer Rome once we expand into other districts, other communities. So hence Connected. The first two schools that we started that outreach to in creating community schools was Waterville Central School District and Dodgeville Central School District.
Why did you choose those?
That's the first question. How, why, geographically, how
Because
did
it's such
we
a difference, like rural, urban,
It is, and you go from like Oneida, Madison area to Herkimer.
Yeah.
It really, all of the work we do comes down to relationships.
Okay.
So we had existing relationships in those buildings with the administration. We had some other programs happening in Dodgeville Central School District. district. So from there, that's where it started. And then the growth very quickly in 2 years, again, was just testimony. So we created Connected Community Schools. We rebranded because it's...
So that's when the Rome kind of came out of the name to reflect that it was more of a
It
broader,
became connected, and it's honestly, as our initiative grew, the services and resources just became richer because what Rome may have, Waterville may not, and the sharing of those resources.
True.
We've used, there was hydroponic kits that were purchased, and then they were kind of sitting. Then Waterville was able to take those, and the students used them.
Oh, nice.
So the opportunity to share resources has been powerful.
I think some people may be surprised to find that in rural communities or suburban, the need is still there, even though it's not urban. Like, you know, we have in Westmoreland where I live, you know, there's in Clark Mills there's a food pantry.
Yes.
The need is everywhere, right?
It truly is, and that's something that we've done a lot of work on in our schools. How do we understand what a need versus want is?
Yeah.
And why do we...
How do you understand that? That's a good question.
We really don't ask questions, and I said this to you earlier. So if Johnny came in and he forgot his notebook at home, that's okay. Grab a notebook. Or Johnny came in and doesn't have a notebook because we didn't have the means to purchase a notebook. That's okay. Grab a notebook.
And sometimes, you know, Johnny may say he forgot it, but they couldn't afford it. You know?
Correct.
And I think, like, as a teacher, you should always assume that, like, it was something like that. You, like, no matter what they say, assume that, like, something went wrong. And so, hey, but I got to.
Absolutely.
Without questions and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. We want to teach our youth, our children.
I really love your attitude.
Yes, we want to teach them younger that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, right.
Everybody faces a struggle or a worry, and we want them to be okay with asking for help. I mean, this shift that we've seen with the stigma around mental health, which has gotten so much better, but we still have some work to do. I say we are good for the most part with physical health. Everybody understands we should have a doctor, we should do preventative visits to be healthy long term, right? Same thing with mental health. It's important for every single one of us to take care of ourselves mentally or physically. So it's so important.
And you know, it's such a high pressure situation for kids to be in school. You know, they think back to what it's like in middle school. Like even as teachers, I mean, see the undercurrents going on, but I remember what it was like. You know, you feel like so. You know, you feel so like everyone's looking at you, and you feel like under pressure all the time. You got that on top, and then if you add on top of that, like, what am I going to do? I don't have any clean clothes to wear, or you know, sometimes kids are kind of their clothes smell, and kids don't have the wherewithal to wash the clothes, or it's so great that they have some place to turn to just get like sometimes just to deodorant. You know, it's what they need to socially fit in.
Absolutely, and it's you said it, Ron. That whole socialization. Middle school, that time in any of our lives is a difficult transformation.
Right. So at least you can make so they're not hungry. You know?
Exactly.
So you at least do that.
And that kind of, how do we support and guide them with that sense of belonging? You have your youth that are athletes. You have your youth that are in the music department. Your artists that are in the art room, right? So we have students that just aren't attached to those formal groups. So we try to connect that and provide that in the physical space with our staff, with just identifying who they can interact and socialize and find that sense of belonging. And if that's with one other person, that's okay, but it's someone.
I think one of the most important things that an educator can do is help kids make friends. I mean, really, it's like it's so important. I'm like within the classroom too. Like find someone they can work with and talk to. Then if they hit it off, it makes the class so much easier because they want to come to class, they want to work. You know, all these like soft things and social emotion stuff is so important.
It's so critical. It's so important to be seen and to be heard. And it's we hear our schools, our educators talk about, you know, absenteeism, kids not getting to school. You're seeing kids go to the library instead of going to the school and just in the community. But that's what it comes down to. It's getting them to be seen and acknowledged and having that motivation to get there. And once they're there, if those things are in place, your students will start to show up.
If they feel secure and stuff, then like trying to do whatever you possibly can so that when they do cross the door into the school, into your classroom, that they begin in like an even playing field, you know, with everybody else. So sometimes that just means giving them a book bag or that kind of stuff. So now, what are some of the things that like what are some of the differences that you see between like the need maybe in rural as opposed to the urban area. I would think one thing, like with socialization, one thing that I see, because I've worked at both kinds of schools, is that in a bigger school, there is a lot of like different kinds of people, and many different clubs too, like a lot more things like that. It's easier maybe if someone is, into anime or manga to find their own little community that in a country school is harder. There's less people. So there are some differences, I would think, between urban and maybe transportation would be one.
Transportation is definitely one of them, but even in our more urban city schools, I still see transportation as a barrier for our families, depending on the resources that they have. So transportation is a need or cost. I would say the needs are very similar, regardless of. I will use I'll do a shout out to Madison Central, and the partnership we've had with them in creating a community school. Having a district their size, K through 12 in one campus. And the size of their school.
Is that one building in one campus?
It is one building.
I taught some of those kids in summer school. They tell me about it.
So superintendent there, Jason Mitchell, has just developed a fantastic team, fantastic culture there, and has really embraced the community school model in his building. And you take that school and go into, we'll say, Rome, who has 5 elementary schools that are similar to the size of that district. Every school building has their culture and similar
That's
needs,
true.
right? So that's why we bring in the foundation. We'll bring in our 4 components, so family engagement, classroom programming, link, and then our hubs, right, with the physical space. And then from there, every community school will grow the way that it's needed to.
According to its own needs.
Yes.
And
it's
What are some of the classroom engagements?
So classroom programming is creating that bridge to our community. We have a wealth of community people, experts that want to be in the school, and that could be from our law enforcement coming in to read to the kiddos in elementary school, right? Focusing on literacy, complementing the curriculum.
And bringing the community in.
Meteorologists coming in to do, complement the weather curriculum. Our friends at First Source Federal Credit Union, they'll come in and do financial literacy.
Oh, that's really cool. I bet the kids love that, talk about
and
stuff.
That's what it is, right? Cornell Cooperative Extension is another one of our largest partners. They have a host of curriculum from SNAP Ed to Farm to School. So it's really about getting our community into the school. And if it's not in the classroom, we respect academic time is very important for our students. So if we have to do it during lunch or recess or during those free times, we'll bring the community experts in, and it exposes the students, gives them the opportunity to learn.
Gives them a chance to talk to someone too.
Fun.
I think that's really good.
We're planting seeds for our future leaders too. So who do they want to be when they, after school? Do they want to go into the workforce and do more trade? Do they want to go to college and establish a career that way? We want to provide those opportunities so they can start to really think about. And the earlier the better. I say we need to start it in our elementary schools to get students to start thinking about what their strengths are.
I find that they're interested in stuff. I tell my 8th graders a lot of times when I teach college too. I tell the college kids too about this job, like my journalism stuff, and they're interested. And I use that sometimes, I used it last week as for example, we're learning about tone and mood, and I showed them a sentence that I have written 4 different ways because I want to be so careful while having an objective tone. So I showed them some that I wrote 4 different ways. Where one time I thought it was too positive, one time I thought it was too negative, one time I thought it was neutral or blah, and one time I thought it was neutral but had power. So they were interested in that, I think, because I was telling them this is a real thing, and we're putting this out there, publishing this, and I think it's great when they have a chance to talk about what it's like after school.
Absolutely.
In terms of their life after school.
And finding their passion.
Find their passion, right.
You do have students who really struggle to identify what their strengths are. They don't have that kind of guidance or that coach to
gives them a buy-in too. They realize it's for them. I can have a future.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. We need more. We need those role models, and it can be anybody in the community can be a role model.
Right. And there's so many jobs you can do. And there's military after school, or there's all this trade stuff now, BOCES. There's so many great things that kids can do. It's we wanted them to realize the great opportunities that they have, the endless opportunities.
Right.
So tell me, before we wrap things up here again, how can people get involved? How can people help? What are some things you guys are working on? We got about 5 minutes left, but what are some of the things like maybe coming up, the open house, and you're planning down the road maybe at some point a ribbon cutting? Cutting?
So we have a couple ways. I strongly encourage you, if you haven't already, go to our website, connectedcommunityschools.org. But
Connectedcommunityschools.org.
more so, follow us on social media, primarily on
a lot of
Facebook.
stuff on Facebook.
We
like
do.
you say.
So
that's a good way to get
we
it.
have we have a fantastic team in collaboration with our several partners to share information. So you'll see pictures on there from events that happen in your community, upcoming events in our connected schools, but also just highlighting those success stories that we see in our schools and in the community. We also have, like Ron had said, we have our upcoming open house on this Friday, September 20th, which is Mohawk Valley Gives, that celebration of that 24-hour.
We see those signs all over.
Yes.
It's like a holiday, you know.
All
it's
over.
Cool.
This is Mohawk Valley Gives' third year, and we're
How does
excited to
that work?
partner.
Like, how do they indicate when they do, like, how do they do that and indicate they want to support you?
If you go to MohawkValleyGives.com, you can search all of the nonprofit organizations
Then you
on there.
pick the
can
one that
see,
you want
yep,
to give.
Yep, and it'll show you opportunities to give and what you're giving.
And I was on that page, and one of the nice things about it too is you get to see like all these different groups in the area. You know, I was finding a few things that maybe would be good guests, you know. So I actually bookmarked it because of that. So it's like, but if you need help, or maybe even people too that like want to help, that's a good resource too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And we have had, when we do these events in your connected districts, that's another way of helping as well. So if you want to become involved, contact your site coordinator. If you don't know who your site coordinator is,
Oh,
go
so
to
like
our
through their
page.
local school.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
We have people that want to participate, whether it's donations of a monetary or tangible resources or time.
Yeah.
Time
yeah.
is critical,
Yeah,
and that's how we
valuable,
make
yeah,
it is,
right.
and it makes our events and the work we do very successful.
Yeah. Well, so before we go, so we've talked about, like, we've kind of celebrated on this show in the past weeks too about how the tornado has brought people together. Do you think that like we'll be able to maintain that? And what can we do as people who live in this area, as individuals? What can we do to like keep that sense of camaraderie and community spirit going, forward as we get further and further, as we make the repairs, and it seems like the need isn't there. How do we stay together?
I think keep showing up, keep being connected. We've had many opportunities to collaborate. I think exactly what you're doing, Ron, is bringing in different organizations, initiatives to spotlight. Because really it comes down to education. I sat in a meeting, last week, and we talked about like how do we get people to be in the know in real time of what's going on, so they can help and do their part. And how do we bring it together?
And
that's
this was
exactly
like a perfect example of the need for that,
Yes.
the tornado, because all of a sudden, like, we have this thing happen.
Right.
So,
And planfully, right? Because in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think, and
I know.
we should have called X, so it's...
Who would have thought?
Exactly.
But it happened, and everyone came together and did great, and we made new friends, and we've had some wonderful conversations on this show with other people about this, and I think, if there's anything we can do, I think we need to find a way to keep together like this, So it's going to be great. Danielle Martin, thank you for being a guest on the show. She is from Connected Community Schools, and I will have information about her organization, Mohawk Gives, the open house, all of this on my show notes at uticaphoenix.net. Thank you for joining me. This has been the Hot Seat on a Media Monday. I'm Ron Klopfanstein. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jay Easy